And that shit ain't never come bite for real. Damn. Ain't no second chances. You can't come back in. We ain't cool, we can't be friends. Ain't no reminiscing.
Why do I always be the bigger person? I just want someone to show me that I'm truly worth it. Got a lot of things that always go unnoticed. I'm too busy being judged from people who ain't really worth it. Yeah, I get played, I'm so hurt. Cause I wanna know the truth. Are we really a thing? Is it really me and you? Why did I trust people that told me THD? The problem is you.
Never thought that I'd be sitting with this shawty trying to talk a lot and get on.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Ikonee. And once again, we're here on 95 South TV. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank God for this opportunity because without him, there'll be no us. Next, I got my right-hand man, your baby mama favorite host, Bear White Jr. himself, King Jacob. What's going on, brother?
What up, my brother? How you doing?
Dude, I'm good. I'm good. Oh, shoot. I'm in Killer County, Memphis, Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? I can stay in the room. I ain't going outside. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here in Memphis. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
boy. Go
I order
outside of
my
Memphis.
food in. You
Go
know.
outside of Memphis. Go outside of Memphis 10 if you want to.
You know that, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
anyway, bro, guess we go ahead and get started, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. What's the first topic of the night?
man. The Carmelo Anthony verdict and will black people boycott the Asian community?
Okay, so basically how I look at it with the Carmelo Anthony situation is, I mean, it don't surprise me or whatever. We're talking about a white kid and a black kid in these situations, and it's going to normally favor towards the white kid in most of these cases. This is the history. This is kind of the history of America, where we at with it, the whole 9 yards. People can complain and talk about it and act like when this thing's going to change, but we have to be the change for them to be the change. And what I mean by that is we're going to have to do something in boycott. Boycotting is not going to do it. Protesting is not going to do it. We've done it. We've Because the thing about it is, what happens is when we boycott, we protest. They just the government and the people, the powers to be, just they just wait it out. They don't really like look at it and say, oh well, we need to go out there and make a change. And because thing about it is, if the boycotting and the protest starts to get too dangerous, they'll just send the National Guard out there and start shooting people. You know what I'm saying? Or hosing them down or doing whatever, sicking dogs on them and throwing out, fire bombs or whatever the case may be. So they're going to start just doing other stuff to deter us from coming out every day. And then eventually we going to just go away. You know what I'm saying? Just like the George Floyd situation, just like Trayvon Martin, just like everything else. So we're going to have to hit them in their pockets. If we're going to protest, and we got to protest the stuff that actually makes a difference to them, and that's their pockets. So we're gonna have to boycott stores that's owned by them. You know what I'm saying? And establishments that owned by them to make a difference. You know, but other than that, um, us boycotting isn't gonna make a difference to them one way or another. You know what I mean? Because they in our history, since the last time we really kind of stood on something, it's probably been like, I don't know, probably really the 70s or the 80s or something, when we really stood on something to try to make a difference. But for the most part, you got to go all the way back to Martin Luther King and the bus boycott and that whole movement. And the fight for the voting rights and all of that stuff, for you to really go back and say, okay, when the last time black people really stood up for themselves and really like waited it out and went through the whole thing of going 2, 3, 4 months. Because you got to think the bus boycott, what made that work, because they wasn't making no money off them buses because we wasn't riding the buses. So we hit them in our pockets with something that small. So now if you do it with clothing and food and all of this supplies, then what? You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Well, now let's break this down. 13.7 black people are in America. But on the flip side, black people spend the most money in America out of any consumer. So if we are spending the most money out of any consumer, we can really control the narrative because nobody spend more money than black people, bro. So
Hmm.
and I've seen some cases where in some cities that the agents are complaining that they ain't getting no business now since the Carmelo Anthony since not the Carmelo but since the Cyrus verdict. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's going around, but it's not nearly enough. I seen a lady in South Carolina was talking about ain't nobody coming to her hair store no more since this verdict, and she ain't have nothing to do with it. Well, I mean, how long will it really last? Because we don't own no hair stores. You know what I mean? Black people barely own restaurants. You know what I mean? We don't own no grocery stores. And a lot of black people shop at the Asian market. So how long will this really last? You know what I mean? And and with the whole Carmelo Anthony thing, man, yeah, I don't want to see no child get killed, but I don't tolerate bullying. These twins have uh, 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 a way that people been talking about. They've been bullying people for a long time, and even some white parents spoke up. So my thing in the school system, just because they were standout athletes on the football field, why did the school system let this ride? And just because they family got money, why did you let this ride? And now the education system is looking crazy. Is because they under fire because this happened, on school premises. But when you already knew what the situation was and you did nothing about it, so how much accountability should the school take, or would they take any accountability?
Well, if they haven't already taken accountability yet, they're not going to take accountability because the school should have been held accountable at the time that everything happened, not a year or two later, whatever. That's not. It's not going to make a difference. Now they should have been. Now I will say this much: the the parents of both sides, which probably could sue the school or the school system, especially Carmelo's. I mean, uh, yeah, Carmelo Anthony's parents might could sue the school if they felt like because a civil suit and a criminal lawsuit or whatever is two different things. And they could sue on the civil side to say, well, y'all put our son in that situation where he unalived somebody based off of really self defense. But if he would have never been put in that situation, this wouldn't have happened. So in a civil situation, it could work in their favor. And maybe if they start looking at it from that standpoint, maybe these schools will be held accountable for not standing up for these kids and not shutting these twins down earlier and you know what I mean or whatever and doing something about these twins. So obviously these twins sound like to me it seems like they come from money, where they come from power. So if they come from money and they come from power and they come from whatever it is or influence in their city in their neighborhood, it's hard to defeat people like that who's basically like fattening the pockets of the politicians and the lawyers and the judges in that city. That's what it sounds like to me. You know what I mean? That's what happened in this situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's what it really is. And in this situation, and now Carmelo Anthony parents is under fire because they was able to get a GoFundMe when it first happened in 2000, late 2023, early 2024, and they raised about $630,000, and they out here buying cars and buying a new house, and yet his defense team was a public defender. And so if you raise that money for your son's case and you out here doing the wrong thing with the money, and not giving him a real lawyer, a paid lawyer, and he had a public defender. We already know the public defender worked with the courts, and so
Hmm.
from the standpoint of parenting, Icon man, what do you think was on their mind when they did this?
They probably looking at it. Well, our son is gone. We can't do nothing about it. So we just gonna make the best of it. And they took that money and who knows? Maybe they talked to a paid lawyer because sometimes a paid lawyer isn't necessary. And what I mean by that is, let's just say they went to a paid lawyer. I'm just saying hypothetically. Let's say they went to a paid lawyer, and every lawyer they went to, let's say they went to three or four different ones, and everyone told them that their case pretty much was a cut and dry case, and they looked at it as if we go to court, but your son is not going to win. And they said, oh well, okay, at this point, we might as well just go with a a unpaid lawyer or whatever. You know what I mean, or whatever. So that could a lot of times people will tell you that sometimes you better off. Like, okay, I give you a perfect example: Big Meech and Southwest T. Southwest T, Big Meech went out and got a paid lawyer. Southwest T ended up getting a court appointed lawyer. It ended up in the same result. So sometimes it just depends on the situation. And I'd say this was like that, but it could have, who knows what was told to them, or they just looked at it as, well, our son is gone. There's nothing we can do about it. We need to pay these bills. They, you know what I mean? From the maybe they didn't have insurance for a funeral and all that kind of stuff. And they just started taking the money that they made and just started living their life to get past it. Or they might have already been them type of people. Who knows? They might have already been money hungry, not good people. You know what I mean? Just because they, their son might be got unalive wrongfully doesn't mean they was good people before that. They could already always been like trifling type people. You know what I'm saying? So it just all depends. It just depends on people in the city and around them who basically know them and know what kind of character or people they are. So that's how I look at it. So, but on the other side of on the flip side of when you talk about the Asian community and the whole boycott, when you get into that part, um, when the lady said that they was boycotting her and she had nothing to do with it, and I'm gonna say I call BS, and I'm gonna tell you why, Jeff. I call BS because black people, we're the most forgiving people on the planet, and if people were going to her establishment and her establishment was doing a great job and had great customer service and doing what she's supposed to do, black people are not going to boycott you if you wanted it, if they feel like you good people. We the type, if we got like white friends or we got Asian friends, we got, yeah, I don't care, Mexican or Puerto Rican friends, whatever the case may be. If somebody wronged us from another race, from their race, we're not going to stop being friends with the person who people in that race is doing right by us. That's not how black people operate. So in other words, this lady, I'm calling BS because if they just up and stop going to her establishment just because you know what I'm saying, um, because of what happened, then that means she was already culpable for something. She already did something where these people in this community in this city didn't like what she was doing. You know what I'm saying? From customer service to whatever the case may be. That's why she got boycotted. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, okay. Well, moving on now. Now this is something that a lot of people don't ask. On these type of shows that we do. When it comes to voter registration, how do we get people, as far as young people that's going into the adult life, how do we get them to understand how important voter registration is, and do young people need to take some type of class on voter registration so they understand the levels of voter registration?
Um, I would say the be crazy part. I'm just gonna sound crazy, but we need like a Diddy movement again. And what I mean by that, Because when Diddy was on that run for like a good year or two, where he was going on like 106 and Park and MTV and all these different platforms and saying, sign up to vote, sign up to vote, sign up to vote, sign up to vote. We need, I hate to say it because we always hate to put stuff on athletes and celebrities and all that. But basically, that's what we really need. We need those type of people to stand up and somebody to take the lead like Diddy did back with doing that Barack Obama campaign. I think that was the campaign he was doing it on, and and the Jay Z's of the world, and we need those people to kind of somebody from from the culture to do that. We need that's the time where we need like a Kendrick Lamar. We need a Drake. We need I don't know NBA young boy, being that they're influenced by him. We need those type of people to stand up and to let them know about voter registration on whatever and what's important of, because they're not going to just go by, okay, is we need to vote based off of being taught in a class. This generation is about action. They not about talking to them about nothing. They about action, about what you do, not what you say. You know what I'm saying? So they want to see action. But if their favorite people is out there doing and putting and standing out on that front line. You know what I'm saying? Whether if you got let's say if you got a Ann Edwards, or let's say you got a Patrick Mahomes, um, certain you know what I'm saying, certain athletes that they not used to doing it, stand up. Oh man, if such and such saying we need to be doing it, we need to go out there and do it. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like that's where it's going to have to come from, and these black so-called leaders have to do more. You know what I mean? I know we had the senator candidate on here a couple of weeks ago, Miss Wimberly. I know we had her on here a couple of weeks ago, but we need to have but these black politicians, these Umar Johnsons, and these other guys, these we call it the preacher, what's his name, Bryant, Pastor
Yeah,
Bryant, all
yeah,
these
Jamal
guys.
Bryant.
What's the couple of the ladies' names? I can't they, you know what I mean, that always like on CNN and Fox and stuff. Candace Owens and all these people
Yeah,
gonna have to do more. The thing about it is they want to call themselves black leaders, but what are they leading? I didn't hear from none of these people during this time, doing the Carmelo Anthony situation, doing the guy with the Chinese guy, the Asian guy. Hey, where are these black leaders at? Or if anything, if they're gonna lead a boy, they need to be out there leading boycotts and protesting on and whatever, put together some kind of something for us to be able to follow. You know what I'm saying? But you can't be on. I don't care about you standing on being on CNN going back and forth with some old white man and some racist white lady about America. I don't care about that. I need you out there on the front lines actually making stuff shake. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
what y'all really need. That's what y'all say. That's what y'all do for a living. And y'all want somebody to buy books and follow y'all and listen to what y'all saying. But what are y'all really doing? Even if y'all raise money, what are you raising money for? You know what I'm saying? We out here raising. Well, what are you raising money for? And where's the money going? You know what I'm saying? So I don't. To me. It just drives me crazy when I'm like, okay, what are we really gonna do? That's why I ain't really got caught up in. I know with you, like the last couple of weeks, you've been sending me articles and all this stuff about the Carmelo Anthony thing and this one and that one. I'm like, the reason why I ain't really preserve too much energy with it, because it's gonna be the same song and dance. We gonna go on our social media pages and complain about this and complain about that, but ain't nobody gonna really try to do nothing. Ain't nobody gonna really try to stand up and really make nothing happen. And then if you do go on your social media and start trying to say do too much, people can start complaining about you doing. Why you? People start complaining about you complaining too much. You know what I'm saying? That be black folks. Black folks complain about black folks complaining about too much. Go on, I guarantee you, Jacob. You go on your social media page every day for the next week or two. Black people gonna get Jacob fatigued and start complaining to you about you complaining too much about what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because if it ain't about some stupid mess on somebody fighting on social media, or this rapper going against this rapper, or this chick going against this chick, or something that's whatever, people don't care. Black folks do not care. about none of it. You know what I'm saying? And they might
I
get
get
mad when they see me come out with this, but then what you doing about it? But my thing about it is, I could do. If me and you stood up right now and try to do something, who really gonna get behind us? Because at this point right now we're considered nobodies. So unless we actually get to a point where we may be somebody to the world, that'll be the only way people will get behind us. So the people that's already somebody's supposed to have to be the ones that lead the charge, the ones that's somebody's to the people in the world. Because people only care about you, about following you, if they feel like you're somebody. You know what I'm
right.
saying? So,
I
um,
dig it.
yeah. But anyway, what we
So
got next?
next topic, you put a post out there about pastors. Uh, you haven't experienced a good pastor in a very long time, and I seen some pastors come through your comments. They was kind of offended. So man, let's talk about that post you put out there about your experience with pastors.
Hmm. Well, I'll say this. Um, I'll say this. So when I put out the post, um, I was venting about something that happened close to home with a pastor. And over the last couple of years, I have not a couple of things. I've not necessarily been directly involved in some of the stuff, but I know some of the things that have happened to with pastors that I've known very closely with other people that I've known. And so it's becoming this trend of, you know, the pastors that have dealt with in the past, seem to be on the doing the right thing and following God. And so you had no problem following those pastors. But then it got to a point where every pastor that I've come started to encounter had every pastor gonna be flawed. Every person gonna be flawed. But different than being flawed and being having no integrity, having no any morals. You know what I'm saying? Being self-righteous, being all about who you are and what your movement, and taking scriptures out of the Bible that benefit your word because you're trying to use that particular word in the Bible to be able to get what you want. You know what I'm saying? I was in a church where when we got there for the first couple of years, when it was time to pay tithing and stuff, you just walked up there, you paid the tithes and sat down. It wasn't a big thing about it. Then it got to the point where, because their money started getting low, because their finances were low, then all of a sudden we got to go through this whole thing of talking about tithing and trying to make people and guilt people into giving money. Because most of the time when pastors and churches go through a whole thing where they try to read a scripture and read a passage and do all that other stuff right before you give, and try to make it seem like if you don't give, you going to hell and all hell gonna break loose in your life. You know what I'm saying? That's a money grab. That's not really that they're not being genuine at that point. They're looking for a money grab when they try to guilt you into giving tithes. Because most people that really have it or want or really like into church and Christian and religious and really about the word of God and about God's business, they're gonna tithe anyway, or they're gonna give their offering anyway. You don't have to guilt them into it. But a lot of these pastors guilt people into stuff. Then you get pastors out here that's stealing money from their congregation. You get these pastors out here that's sleeping around with their congregation. You get these pastors out here, and then in the real world, you see them out and they're drinking and drugging and doing all kind of stuff in the real world. Then you go to social media and now all these mega prayer pastors are coming down and falling like a house of cards with some of the stuff they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And then I knew it was I knew it was getting bad when Drewski did his little skit about the guy and having the press talking about the pastor who was swinging in the air with the red bottom shoes on, and pastors was saying that what he was doing was blasphemy, but they never checked the pastor who was doing it. And I'm like, hold on, so y'all gonna sit here and talk about somebody who's not in the church, who's not religious, or whatever, doesn't seem to be a Christian person, like in that way of following Christian rules or whatever. He's a comedian. And y'all gonna say what he did was blasphemy, but the person who actually he was imitating, y'all have nothing against that, what he was doing. I watched, and it got so disturbing that I seen around Easter time, Jacob. I'm sitting there watching, and it was like it was a church service, and they was in there singing and hooping and hollering and stuff, and I heard somebody in the background talking, and I'm like, because I could just see the choir singing. I'm like, who's that in the background talking? I'm like, what? I'm like, what is going on? Something that's a funeral. But it so happened the pastor put himself in a casket, rolled down in the casket during the Easter service, opened up the casket, and was, I guess it was supposed to be like a way of showing how Jesus was resurrected from the dead. So what Drewski did was blasphemy, but this ain't that ain't mocking God. You know what I'm saying? Well, how dare you try to compare yourself to Jesus by doing something like this? How dare you? You know what I'm saying? But then we want, and there's still some good pastors. I'm a shout out because I know my homeboy gonna end up watching this. My boy here hit me up a few weeks ago, and he was like, "Yeah, he like, man, Icon." He's like, "Man, I know you smarter than that, not to think there's no good pastors yet." And I said, "Bro, I'm not saying it." I said, "But hit dog will holler." So the pastors who don't think, and I'm gonna shout out to Pastor Craig. I'm a shout out to Pastor Eddie Gordon, and the people that I know on a personal level in family. So I'm gonna shout those guys out because I've seen nothing but good qualities and good things out of them. But at the same time, I'm not going to dismiss or turn a blind eye to the pastors that are not doing the right thing or in leading people who want to be led the wrong way. I'm tired of not talking about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of not saying anything. People get mad with you when you speak on it, like you don't have, first of all, we all should be speaking on it if you're dealing with it, because it's our responsibility to speak on it, because we speak on everything else. So why we can't speak on a bad pastor? Why we gotta turn a blind eye when we got a bad experience? If I got a bad experience, like I told my boy when he called me, I said, "Bruh, I'm going off of my experiences. I can't go off of what you saying. Every pastor you might have been dealt with might have been good. Okay, I'm glad for you. I'm happy for you. But I'm talking about the pastors I've dealt with. Bishop Langford was a good pastor. He used to be the sheriff of the city. You know what I'm saying? I can go by my experiences with him. Did I hear about some negative things that went on with him when he was a bishop? I mean, when he was a sheriff? Yeah, I heard about some negative stuff, but I can't talk bad about him because I'm just going off of my experiences with him at that point. So I'm saying, so to me, other than Bishop Langford, that I actually was up under, and the two people I just told you about, every other pastor I dealt with basically had no integrity, no morals, no values, but they stand up in that pulpit every Sunday and doing Bible study and act like they're better than what they are, and different than everybody else, and try to put on a facade of, I'm following Jesus, I'm doing the right thing, y'all need to come follow me. No. You know what I'm saying? And at some point, I'm not gonna do it tonight, but at some point, I may even start calling the names of the people I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because I want people to understand, whoever you're following either you're in a cult or you're following the devil's worker. That's what you're following. You're following the devil's worker. You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing the devil's work, just disguised in doggone a God, an angel, or God's clothing. But they're doing the devil's work just in a different way. But that's just my 2 cents on it.
Boy, you said a lot. You said a lot. You dropped nuggets after nugget after nugget after nugget. Uh, 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 uh. It seems like I kind of got a book title in my head that you might could write. Why you can't trust pastors? Oh my goodness, and mercy,
Mm-hmm.
and mercy. So man, that's a lot, and a lot of people go through that. I remember Icon. I had a conversation with some friends I grew up with. about Eddie Long, and they was like, "Nah, Jacob, you can't be saying that. You know how people try to just throw the pastors under the bus and." But I said, man, like it's no way that that many young men have came forward and said he touched them, and all of them have the same story. And
Mm-hmm.
so, was you living in Atlanta at the time that Eddie Long was getting accused?
Yep. Yep. And
I
then the
know.
thing about it was the most of his congregation was standing behind him and saying that he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And I said, and I tell people, I said, I'm gonna tell y'all something. A man is not going to say another man touched him for money if he didn't do it. He just not gonna do it. Not a man of any kind of integrity. Now maybe one or two of them, maybe, but I only can't remember how many it was. But Audi, no, that's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Because the only thing different between that and the Michael Jackson situation, they was talking about these were little boys that their parents kind of brainwashed them to kind of say, "Oh, Mike touched me." But we was talking about these men grown, just like the Sandusky case. By the time these men came forward in the Sandusky case, they were grown men. They were grown, they were men then, but they was even older by the time they came out. So you think grown men gonna say another man touched them? You know what I'm saying? Just for a money grab? You know what I'm saying? You gotta deal with the scrutiny and the people dogging you out. So yes, I believe Eddie Long did something to these kids. I don't care what people talking about. Oh, I don't believe it. Da, da, da. Just like I wasn't there, you wasn't there either. But do I believe men will come out and say somebody touched them like that? No, not no man. No, that ain't gonna never. No, women may do it, and I hate to say it like that, but women will do it. But then a different situation because you're talking about a man dealing with a woman. You know what I'm saying? It's opposite sex. But another man telling another man touched him like that? No,
Man,
no, I don't see that happen. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Unless something.
I know it was crazy, man, everywhere because everybody respected Bishop Eddie Long so much, man, and when it really hit the news and stuff like that, and it was everywhere, man. I had people call me from New York, DC, Philly, Jersey, and they just want to talk about like, man, this is crazy, man. And I was like, man, well, a lot of times, man, these things happen inside the church, and church is a place that's supposed to be sacred and bring you peace and bring you joy and bring you the love and the word of God, man. But behind those closed doors, a lot of times you don't know what's really going on. And Bishop Eddie Long, man, and to this day, a lot of people that I know that was in that great Atlanta metropolitan area, they said it's true. They was like a lot of people didn't believe it, but a lot of people did.
And then look at it like this. And I always say this: karma is something else. Think about after that how happened, how quickly he deteriorated and passed away. Think about that. You know what I'm
You
saying?
you right. You're absolutely right, though. You're absolutely right.
So it to me, I just and to me, what's different between a Catholic pastor that gets blamed for the same thing, and Catholic preachers are even put on a higher regard than your basic Baptist or Methodist pastor, or you know what I'm saying? Like a Catholic preacher is if they was the kind of rank pastors, I know they don't really you don't rank them like that, but if in the society when they rank pastors, you got the Pope, then you got like the Catholic, then you got like the Jews that are going it call kind of fall from like you know what I'm saying? It's like levels to it in people's eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So I
right.
just feel like if they can get accused of something and get found out to be doing something to little boys and stuff like that, why can't a Baptist preacher or a Methodist preacher or non-denominational preachers or whatever how are they exempt? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't. It just like the whole thing with TD Jakes and me and my mom had a big argument about it. And I said, and my mama said, well, he human and this, that, and the third. And I said, well, mama, all these pastors human. But if I'm sitting at a bar having a drink, and my pastor's sitting there beside me having a drink, what am I going to Sunday to go to listen to him preach for? If I'm at the strip club and he at the strip club, what am I at the preaching for? So if we at a Diddy party or anybody's party, and I look over and see Creflo Dollar there, well, how you know he wasn't in there praying for people? Really, mama? Creflo, so you gonna really tell me, I mean, not Creflo, TD Jakes is gonna be at a Diddy party with all this wild stuff going on, with his reputation and with him, you know, because his reputation will be on the line. You think anybody gonna really believe that, and you ain't never had one person ever say that, Jacob, man, I was at the Diddy party and TD Jakes walked in, and you know what? We had to, shut the party down. We had to leave because he literally stopped the party and started praying to everybody. You know what I'm saying? You ain't never heard a comedian or the comedian like a Kevin Hart or other people that's been there and talked, has been there, or Jamie Foxx. You don't think they would have made a joke about it and they stand up about TD Jakes being at the party and he shut it down by praying to everybody? Instead, they keep his secret safe or
and and
whatever.
then, and then the picture I seen, he was at the party. Him and Diddy both had on all red suit. I was like, oh my,
Of all colors, red. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Of
I guess
all colors,
Diddy,
red. And I'm
I
not
guess
saying he
Diddy,
done anything
I,
sexual with Diddy or
well,
anybody else. But
maybe not, but I guess Diddy told him to take that. I don't know, bro.
and then that fake alleged heart attack he had on stage, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it, not one bit. Now on people, he had it. Okay, whatever. That was sympathy. That was a sympathy. That was a PR move. You know what I'm saying? That was a distraction from what was going on move. That's what that was. That wasn't no doggone, you know what I'm saying, what y'all trying to make it out to be. That's why I ain't never trusted mega churches, because I always said, I remember we had the show with the senator again. And I was telling my homeboy this, and I said, listen, I'm gonna tell you something. If Jesus had $1 trillion and he walked through any a city at the time that he was on this earth. By the time Jesus got from I don't know how many people was in this in these cities that he was in, but let's just say a city had 1,000 people in it or 10,000 people. By the time Jesus walked from one end of the city to the other end of the city, you think Jesus would still have money in his pocket? Oh, I know you had. I know you had fell off.
Yeah, it fell off.
Uh,
But
but
yeah,
but
man.
but
You're right.
but you hear what I said?
Yeah. That was sympathy.
Huh?
That was sympathy.
No. I was saying what I was saying on the last point, and I told my homeboy this, and I'll let you jump back in. I said, think about this for a second. I said, this is why I don't trust mega preachers. And I don't think no preacher, because even Tupac talked about this when he was alive, about hey, basically preachers shouldn't be having that kind of money. No man should be worth that kind of money. That these people be worth in 40, 50, $100 million or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying, or whatever, and call themselves like helping. So just imagine, Jacob, if you was in Nazareth, let's say Jesus in Nazareth, or he in some whatever, Egypt or whatever, some Jewish country, whatever, Jewish city, and he walked from, let's say it's 10,000 people in that city, and Jesus had, let's just say he had $100,000 in his pocket. You think Jesus would still have money in his pocket by the time he got to the end of the city? Or you think he been and gave most of it, if not all of it, out?
Oh no, he gonna have no money, bro. He gonna give it out, bro.
So why
He gonna help.
pastors? So Creflo Dollar Church sits in off of Old National Road. Old National is one of the most poverty stricken streets in Atlanta,
Always
and you
have
gotta
been.
and so and even and so how are you worth 30-40 million and you own a street in a city with nothing but poor people? There's no way you should have that kind of money. There's no way. You should be gave out most of that money. You should be paying. Should be paying rent for everybody in that city, if that's the case, in that neighborhood, and in that neighborhood alone, everybody rent should be paid. There should be no homeless people. If you in a mega church in a poor community, there's no way there should be poor people on that street. The most you might have is drug addicts or whatever going up and down that street, and we should see y'all going up and down the street all day long trying to pull them into your congregation to get them help. But that's about it. But you should have no poor people, no homeless people walking up and down that street. And in Atlanta, period, shouldn't have it anyway. You know how many mega churches there are in Atlanta? So there should be no poor people in Atlanta. None.
Yeah.
When y'all making
Well,
30, $40 million a year.
well, not only Atlanta, but I don't think it should be poor people in America. Period. We talking about one of the most wealthiest countries on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody from other countries say America is the greatest land that you ever can enter. But we got 74,000 homeless veterans. That makes no sense. But
No,
that's a whole
no.
nother. But that's a whole nother conversation, man. But
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
but I just want to say this before we get out of here, Icon, man. Um, we got the World Cup going on, and a lot of people, especially the Latino community, people from Mexico, people from Guatemala, people from El Salvadoria, they're nervous about playing. They came to play, but they're nervous, and people are saying that their head is not always together because they feel like it's gonna be a mass agents of ISIS coming to deport them. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the people that's playing in the World Cup, they already have family ties to America, and a lot of their family in America is coming to the World Cup from Arizona, from California, just everywhere, just coming to see them play. So, do you think that's something that they should be worried about, or no?
Based on the way ICE has moved, yes. But they probably wouldn't do it until the end. Because if they do it now, they're gonna cost America a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think the World Cup is in Atlanta, Seattle, I think LA, I forgot the other cities. So it's about 6, 7 cities in America, I think, that the World Cup is in major cities. So if they go grab them up now, they're gonna lose money. So what they may do is right before, let's just say the last day of the tournament, they may go start grabbing folks up then. You know what I'm saying? So that could happen. I wouldn't put it past ICE at this point. The stuff that ICE have done, like ever since I seen the situation when I just happened to be in Chicago and I was getting a detail at a shop and I was watching the news. And this lady, she worked at a daycare center. They, in the morning when you bring your kid, when the parents bring their kids and drop them off to go to work or whatever, ICE came in there almost like with like SWAT to grab this lady that was going to work at the daycare center. Had the kids scared, the parents was scared. You know what I'm saying? Because they done busted in here to get this lady to deport her. First of all, y'all could have got the lady at her house because probably knew already knew where she stayed. Or if nothing else, y'all could have had one agent or a couple of agents go to the office of the manager, the store owner, a manager, whatever, of the daycare, whoever, and say we need to talk to blah blah blah, and then y'all bring her in the office, and then y'all escort her out, maybe out of a back door or something, so the kids won't see. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen that, I knew ICE would do anything and everything they wanted to and could to make an example out of folks and deport folks in any means necessary. So I almost truly believe that if that was to happen the last day of the tournament or the day after the tournament, then yeah, if I were these folks, I'll be on the first thing smoking. You know what I'm saying? As soon as that last doggone go, that clock strike whatever zero on the championship game of the World Cup. If I was every foreigner, I would get the hell out of Dodge. You know what I'm saying? And you get gone because ICE may show up and try to take these folks out of here. I believe ICE would do that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how the hatred for these foreigners that they have, which is I don't understand because I don't have nothing against no uh race at all. Now we get mad. See, black folks get mad not because we don't like certain races. We get mad because we've been sitting here begging and asking for stuff for 100 years about the way y'all treat us, and then just like the last time we boycotted, y'all gave the Chinese more than what y'all gave us. LGBT community really just started complaining about stuff maybe about 15, 20 years ago, and in the last 4 or 5 years they got all these rights. But when it comes to black folks, we can't get nothing. You know what I'm saying? Y'all throw little crumbs at us every now and then to make us, especially around the election or something. But y'all won't really do nothing to do right by us. That's what we get, man. You know what I'm saying? We ain't mad at the race. We mad at the fact that y'all doing something for other races. Other races come over here to this country. Foreigners come over here and they get all this afforded to them. I think at one time they was giving them like $10,000 to go out and start businesses and a certain amount of money to be able to get homes and all this other stuff. So y'all created this monster, let these people come over from other countries. Now all of a sudden y'all want to get rid of them. But y'all, why y'all gave them incentive to come here? That'd be like, Jacob. That'd be like if we had a subscription for our a paid subscription for our show, and then once we got a certain amount of people, we start doing things that deter them from staying subscribers. You know what I'm saying? So what was the whole point? You know what I mean? So bro, I can see it. I definitely can see it.
Well, man, I just hope it don't happen, man. But you really never know. When you got MC Dump in the office.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, bro, we had a great night. Another great episode. Talked about a lot of great things. Next week, just stay tuned, y'all, because we got something in store for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because things about to take another boost for us, man, and whatever, you know what I mean, about what we got. We always moving and shaking. Me and my brother always got something in the pot. So, but anyway,
and so I kind of let me say this. I got a call today. Somebody wants us to interview Carl Thomas, allegedly baby mama that was homeless and an escort. He got her pregnant and don't do nothing for the child.
Oh man. Oh Lord. Okay. Well, hey, all I can do is say, hey, I interview anybody about anything as long as it makes sense. So hey, let's get it. But anyway, that's it. I will end it there. Ain't nothing else to say. God bless y'all. See y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Brown skin girl, and she knew I was out to go and clear my mind. The girl, she's